So what I'm going to be talking about at bringing up the rear today between you and your cocktails and jazz is not any kind of a software solution or IT. It's more conceptual of so many of us in this room at this conference are operating excellence professionals, continuous improvement types. So what I'm going to be sharing with you this afternoon is how we've worked on trying to integrate our operating excellence initiative with the ongoing need to make sure customer is at the forefront, because sometimes that gets lost in OPEX initiatives. So I want to make sure that I share with you how we've not let that happen. So Sonoco, not Sonoco the oil and gas company, is a packaging company. And we've been around since 1899. And so very, very old packaging company. We're headquartered in South Carolina. We're pretty big. We have $5.5 billion in sales, so we're a large company you've never heard of. Our brand does not go on our package. Our customers' brands go on. So we do have global locations everywhere and quite a few employees. This is where we operate. Up in the corner, you can see some of the products that we make. So in a grocery store, we're in every single aisle. We recently acquired on the edge of the store, all the Driscoll clear packages that you get your strawberries and your blueberries. We bought that. We do Trident gum, we do Pringles chips, we do Pillsbury dough, we do Oreo cookies, we do cashew granola bars. So also we do the big giant cylinders that you pour concrete in to construct buildings. We also do the cores that go inside of toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls. So we do wooden reels upon which giant cables are wound. So we are very, very diverse. We have an industrial side and a consumer side. So based on what's going on in the economy and what's going on with these food packaging companies, if one part of the company is not doing well, the other part is doing well. So we're pretty darn diverse. So this is kind of had anybody ever heard of Sonoco? Oh, good. Some people have. That's good. So we are and have been doing a continuous improvement journey of some sort of form or fashion since at least the 50s. We got into the name brand ones in the late 80s with TQM. So that's when I started with Sonoco in the late 80s, and we did TQM. Some people are probably old enough in this room to recall that. Then we migrated to Six Sigma. Then we added Lean and turned it into Lean Six Sigma, so we have that. And our most recent iteration of all of that is kind of a conglomeration of all those things put together, which we call the Sonoco Performance System. This has been our challenge. If this looks familiar, this is not new to any of you probably. But even though we've been in a continuous improvement journey for eons, we still have the firefighting and seem to solve the same problem in our manufacturing locations over and over and over again. Nothing is new in the world if you've been operating since 1899, so problems are not newly created, and it seems like we are in firefighting mode. We're now trying to get into the small amount of firefighting and more continuous improvement. And actually some of the work that we've been doing of late has moved us in that direction. So SPS, Sonoco Performance System, it's TPM. Anybody here doing TPM? So it's TPM, only we've customized it to our company. So, and we've moved it to all areas. So it's not just manufacturing. We're a manufacturing company with plants all over the world, but we also have HR, finance, IT. We have a lot of staff groups. So this is across the entire corporation that we're doing this continuous improvement using employee engagement, education. We are mapping out everyone's role. What are they accountable for? We have all kinds of decision trees. How do I teach other people how to do my job? So it's all across the entire corporation. It did start in manufacturing, and it was started open kimono, to be totally honest, for a cost savings, which is why most initiatives are started. But now it is we have a large amount of baby boomers leaving our company in the coming years. And now the issue is engaging our associates so we're not losing them, and really trying to continuously improve, because we keep acquiring companies. We just closed on another one this morning, and we're trying to make sure everybody gets onto the SPS movement as soon as possible. So all employees, there's no opting out. So I was in one of the think tanks earlier today, and we were talking about, well, how do you get the heart and the mind, and how do you get everybody involved in this? What if they don't want to? What if they don't like change? What if they're happy with what they've always done? What do you do about that? And so we basically say, if you're not going to get on board, you're not going to be on board. So when people are very, very much fighting it and saying, I don't like this, I don't think it makes sense for the way I've always done business, those people leave. We either force them to leave, or we make their lives difficult and they leave on purpose. So either way, they're out, because this is the decision we've made. This is the way we want to work with our employees. This is the way we want to work. And so if you don't like that, you're not at the right company. So that is what we've done. I know that sounds kind of very dictatorial, but it does work, and that is the only way you get everybody on board. If you have dissenters and people that are not talking the same language and are not proponents, it can kill it. So it's the pillar base. That's what I said, TPM. It's very much based on TPM. So we have all these pillars. And we've always had KPIs and key metrics, but now they're all tied together with these manufacturing pillars. QM is the quality pillar. So I at Sonoco, and I've been there 24 years, in a variety of roles, operating excellence, manufacturing, quality. Now I have environmental sustainability, quality, and operating excellence. So I think it's more just keep adding. But quality management, as we began this journey, was secondary, meaning how do I make the lines more efficient? How do I make them run all the time? How do I have, how can I take people out of the line and run it with fewer operators? But there was no focus on how do I make sure the customer is getting what the customer wants and needs. And we were really shortcutting it such that some customers were not getting what they wanted and need, i.e., scrap is a big loss in TPM. Scrap, which is parts that are not shippable, and so they have to be scrapped. What we were seeing is because these losses were put in everyone's bonus, and we, by the way, pay our hourly people bonuses too. So it was impacting 100% of our employees. So scrap was a big loss on the bonus. So what do you think happened as a result of that? They started saying, this is marginal. We accidentally shipped this 2 months ago and the customer didn't say anything. Now we can overtly ship it because they must think it's fine because they didn't complain about it. So we started shipping, we knew that was substandard goods and we had gotten away with it in the past. So now that became our new standard. If a customer didn't complain, it must have been good. I don't know if that's happened in any of your companies, but that did happen at ours. And so we were seeing a large influx of then customers started noticing, because once you do something over and again, then they say, what happened? This is substandard material. This is not what we have agreed to. This is not what we're expecting to get. The scrap number improved, which was a huge loss, but the amount of customer issues and complaints went the opposite direction. So one of the things that I and my team got involved with, again, I have two hats, I'm operating excellence and quality, was how do we make sure the quality pillar stays as strong and is not a much shorter pillar than all the others. As you can see, the building is not going to have a very good foundation if all the pillars don't hold their weight. I'll tell you what the names of the other ones are. QM is quality management. ME is maintenance excellence. FI is focused improvement. DTM And 5S is, keeping everything, what 5S, if you're lean, keeping everything orderly. And then continuous skills development is the training. So those are the initials. It's right out of the TPM handbook. So this is the journey. We started in 2009 today, and we don't have all our plants in this yet. So you saw we had over 300 plants, and we only have 115 in it. It's a huge amount of work. And we're really just working on the 24/7 plants. So at Sonoco, we have some plants that only run one shift. And that's all they're ever going to run because they're right next to the customer. But the plants that are 24/7, they're all doing this TPM initiative, this SPS Journey. And so we're up to 115. I think all said and done, we'll have about 200 in. So that's where we are. Here's where we do the quality system tie-in. I started saying, it's also a loss to have complaints. It's also a loss to use substandard material from suppliers. It's also a loss to have to test things more than one time. That I heard someone this morning say inspection. Inspection is a loss. So these things we started incorporating into, it's not just things that cost money like labor and scrap. It is all these other things that if not done well are also losses. So we started quantifying that for our corporation. So a customer complaint doesn't necessarily cost, but it can cost because if a customer complains more than once or twice, they could just go away and go to a competitor. So these are the items that we then wound into the SPS system that were not initially in there. So that's how we've kept the balance going. I indicated that we pay people bonuses, both hourly and salaried people. So we did wind this also into the bonus program for our all associates. So that we would say, this is meeting customer expectations is just as important as the cost component. This is our one-page plan for the customer experience, which is another way of saying the quality. And these are the items that we think are important for all of those areas. So we do Net Promoter Score. I heard this morning many of you do Net Promoter Score. That's how we get true voice of the customer to say, this is what, we may not be complaining, but this is critically important to us, so please focus on that. We do measure on time in full. We do many, many metrics. I think on our metric scorecard we have 32. We have a quality management system that is standard across the globe. Every single plant, all 300 and some, use the same QMS, and it's in every language. So that's quite a coup. We just acquired somebody this morning. They'll be on the QMS within 40 days. So that's something new for us, that we can get people on that quickly. Down under product consistency, that's where we really had to work on our integration with SPS, because where we were seeing a divergence to say, let's improve our cost basis by taking it out of the customer, is where we've put a huge amount of focus on managing the inputs. I heard that this morning too. That has been a huge boon to our success. What I mean by that is, don't make defects in the first place. Don't worry about detecting them. Manage the inputs such that you don't make them in the first place. So some of you are probably working on that. So we've got a huge amount of focus on that. I've got a team flying into our plant in Thailand in May to implement that piece, which is, historically we've managed only outputs. So in a core, it's what's the length, what's the thickness, what's the OD, what are the things the customer is getting when they take it out of the box. Now we're teaching our plants and our people and everyone how to manage the machine settings, which will predict what those outputs are, so that we know we will never make another defect. And so we're not going to try to find a defect and then set it aside. We're just not going to make it in the first place. So that takes a lot of front-end work, but it ends up being very, very cost-effective and much more efficient. We still do Lean Six Sigma, but it's within the guise of, if you have easy problems to solve, just do that. But if you have more complex with lots of inputs, Then you need to do the Lean Six Sigma, and so we send all of our people through that who need to solve those more complex problems. And then in the risk management, how do I minimize the risk to change for our customers? Because we're constantly making changes, acquiring companies, acquiring suppliers to our process, and how do we make sure those risks are minimized of all that continuous change? So we also did a standard work. Every job at our company has standard work. So you could be a forklift operator or a janitor, or you could be the CEO. You have standard work. So this is the standard work for quality leaders. Why? We were getting so many acquisitions we were trying to implement, and when they came in, they were doing things a little bit differently. The other thing is we were getting some turnover as people were retiring. And then the third thing is, as we bring new people on, we want to get them up to speed super quickly, so get them trained and ready for work and very, very value add to the company ASAP. So we did this standard work, and very much aligned with SPS, but specific to the job of quality. And I really like it because it gives you a kind of a guidebook of how much time you should be spending in these areas. So a brand new person, you just got hired on in a plant, and I'm the head of quality in that plant. This is kind of, at our company anyways, your duties, the things that you own, but then how much time in my given day do I spend on these things? So I want to say, yes, you do still need to do and check and make sure everything's fine for the customer, but we want to shift your focus to more of the preventive side. And the only way you can do that is to put it into people's standard work. Do many of you do standard work? Yeah, so it's still out there. So we did this, it was a big improvement. We did this in 2016, and we've seen a huge amount of improvement in this area because now everybody kind of has a roadmap to follow. So when I sent this to Sam, he said, well, if you have a Dilbert, that's the winner. So I like to joke because quality is kind of the redheaded stepchild at many companies. It's not as glamorous as the continuous improvement OPEX side, but I always think that's funny. It's not usually in the top one or two, but it's a necessary evil, and we have to do it. So we've now made it so that people want to do it, and it's very exciting, and it's part of the overall pillars. I think I've done well on time because I didn't see any signs flashing up. So.
Fabulous. Are you all set?
Yeah.
Okay,
Unless
first of all, round of applause. Thank you so much.